Right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Irongeek Cast number 213, Frankless. Because I don't think we have anything in the show notes tonight other than me putting in just a holder place. So, how's everybody doing tonight? What if we got something to shoot the shit about for at least an hour?
Oh,
Well,
fun and excitement.
I endured exploding transformer, so that had power out for several hours this morning. That set off
Autobot or
our alarm.
Decepticon?
What?
Autobot or Decepticon?
Oh, come on,
I,
it exploded. It had to be a Decepticon.
it blowed up real good, and I was surprised it didn't shatter windows. It was loud. Yeah.
And what did you do to it?
I was just running my computers, connecting and working, and
I
you know.
turned on my Bitcoin mining farm and, gee, a transformer blew up.
I'm not. Yeah, well, I don't do Bitcoin, but yeah, they were running, but they're not using that much juice. I mean, my power bill was low last month.
Yeah, we have the advantage of having really good power rates here in Texas, so compared to the rest of the country, especially.
Now, I just read somewhere that Texas was getting all tweaked out over power again because there was a cold front coming in and the utility companies were making bang bang in their pampers.
Well, no. So what happened is there's an overarching authority called ERCOT, the Energy Reliability Council of Texas, that basically consumes all the power and distributes it out to the different TDUs, which is like Encore and New Mexico. Texas Power, things like that, and those are the ones that serve homes in the area. They have their own little operating areas. And because there was expected higher usage yesterday due to a stalled cold front, and generation wasn't like up there, they basically said, "Hey, please conserve power." They were saying that rolling blackouts were exceptionally unlikely, and as far as I know, there were no rolling blackouts at all. It didn't even get to the point where they needed to go into the blackout phases. So I think people are a little on the edge because of the winter storm that we had a couple months ago that almost killed our power grid. We were literally like 30 minutes from basically total grid collapse. So yeah,
Well, look, I mean, I've been wearing shorts every day for the last few weeks, so it,
yeah, it's been warm.
and and so I don't see that. I mean, they're probably squealing because there's some power plants that are down for maintenance and they are not back up yet because it's springtime. But we're also getting in the mid 80s in here, so
Yeah, or they're still down from the winter because I imagine there's still some places that are still having some long-term damage effects from that storm because it got really cold here. I mean, yeah, it doesn't some parts of you and in the north will go it's not that bad, but yeah, here in Texas it's pretty cold because we don't
How cold?
prepare.
How bad do we get in
Some
Texas?
places are getting sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah, Texas, my understanding, doesn't normally see that very often.
No, that's very rare. We see 120 in the summer. We're prepared for that, no problem,
Yeah,
because
we
that happens every fucking year.
we, we don't see minus degrees in Indiana much either. Sometimes we do, but not
Yeah,
too often.
but do you see 120 in the summer every year?
No.
Yeah, we do. So that's what we prepare for.
Maybe I know
there
it's like 100, 110, I think, but no, not that high.
there
We
are
get 112, 114 sometimes out here in Vegas.
yeah there's very few spots in Texas that actually get 120. It's more like you know towards the Panhandle, West Texas,
Yeah,
very dry desert areas. I mean, it's like, of course, Arizona or Nevada, um, parts of New Mexico, because you have low humidity, you don't have heat transfer. What's hot is very humid. You've got 95% humidity,
yeah,
and it's 105 degrees. I mean, that's
or more. Because when I moved to Houston many years ago and was only there for 6 months, the day I moved in was 115, like 70-80% humidity. So yeah, it was extremely hot and extremely humid. That's a big portion of our coastline is on the Gulf Coast. Um, so Yeah, I mean, even on the western side where it gets hot, where it's dry, it still gets hot all over. 120 is a bit of an exaggeration, but we get 100 degrees plus temperatures and sustain them for weeks at a time. So it's not
Well,
like it's just bursting and going away.
well,
Global warming, global
no,
warming.
in
I just had to say
Houston,
that to
we
be an
probably
ass.
get maybe a few days a year of 100 plus.
Yeah.
Um, in Dallas, which is less humid, you're going to get maybe a little bit more. Um, like you get more tornadoes and stuff like that. Hill country, places like Fredericksburg get hotter than Austin,
Yep.
for example. Um, and it just depends on it's a drought season, and I mean because some of that area had experienced a drought for a while, and that there was a lot of high temperatures. I think we'll be fine this year, personally.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, well, and when it hits 85 degrees, that's when the grass grows. Because in Houston, it's St. Augustine.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything starts to quote and bloom this time of year because it's getting warm, and I mean, yeah, it was like up to like 90 here the other day, but it's been in the mid to high 70s, low 80s most of the time here. So at night it cools off, but that won't last more than a month.
Yeah, it's the best time of year.
Yeah, it's the time we actually have a respite from the heat for a short period of time.
So,
Welcome to the South.
yep, and believe it or not, I mean, I've seen high humid temperatures in the middle of Arkansas,
Oh yeah.
Mississippi, northern parts of Louisiana. Um, I mean, so of course, I guess Georgia, anything that's even, 600 miles inland, you're going to get some humid temperatures, and it's going to be
Hmm.
uncomfortable. So, I mean, until you get some elevation and dryness, it's not that pleasant.
You phrase that very diplomatically. Uncomfortable, yes, because hot as balls is a little more succinct, I think.
I
But
mean,
hot as balls is a unique kind of hot as balls. That's unique. You have to have balls to understand hot as balls. If you don't have balls, you can say it, but you won't really. You'll just be repeating somebody else. Like for me, hot as balls is also followed with cool as balls, and I say that from my unique perspective of being in a motorized wheelchair and being able to get out of the shower and kick my legs up a little bit and then roll the wheelchair at full speed and get that breeze going across my balls. There's not a better feeling in the world than that.
well, there you go.
It's just like that song "Summer Breeze,"
Yeah.
the typo negative cover version though, not the original.
So, but considering that places like Iraq, which have 140-degree daytime temperatures, and so you have to be undercover
Yeah.
to survive. That's uh, you know, we're
Oh,
pretty
someone
good.
popped up in the. Oh, Cameron showed up. Hey, man. If anybody sees somebody show up in the waiting room, let me know. Oh, is that only show for me?
Right? And so, I mean, so I've been getting into. There is the new crypto. Of course, Frank is missing out because there. I've been researching this stuff extensively, and I've bought a bunch of crypto miners. They are now you can produce a crypto token called Helium using a hotspot miner that does proof of coverage, and it only uses 1 watt. I mean, it uses $1 a month. It's a nine. It's about 9 watts for this thing. It's like a you know an LED light bulb in power, and it uses in so you connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you can set up a guest SSID or anything like that, and it runs on the 915 megahertz band in the United States, which is I think it was a former cellular band, and I think that some oil companies were using stuff like that for mobile communications. I mean, I used to set up um, uh, private mobile uh, radios for oil companies in the 800 to 900 megahertz range. So I already have experience with this stuff. So in these things are, yeah, the thing is you need to have neighbors for you to make money, and they can't be too close. So the perfect neighbor, 300 meters away, and so you communicate with the neighbors, and you get what's called a proof of coverage, and so you can be banking 12 to 50 bucks a day, and I bought a bunch. I bought 7 of them. I got them all on order, and they ranged from anywhere about 370 bucks to about a little over 500, and that's for the Helium network. Helium Network Token, HNT. There's another one called MXC, which does multiple coins, but that thing, the miner, which is a more sophisticated one, is like 2,500 euros. A lot more expensive. It's about $3,000, and I don't think you're going to make as much. I mean, people are typically making about 12, 15 bucks a day on one of those things. But if you do the math, you'll have this thing paid off. I mean, so uh, if I make the minimum, I'll have one of these little hotspot miners uh, uh, paid off in less than a month. So that is mining. There's a lot more to it. So I've been doing in-depth research on this stuff. For example, setting up an LLC. You start making money in crypto. It's either considered self-employed wages, and it's a little harder to do your tax deductions, or you move your stuff into an LLC, and you have some protection there, and you still have to put it on your taxes. But for example, Wyoming is crypto friendly, so uh, the idea is you set up a Wyoming LLC, and then the state you're living in, you set up a foreign LLC. So you're basically setting up 2 LLCs, the main one in Wyoming, for example, and that way you can do Binance and stuff like that. There's some crypto exchanges that are not allowed in certain states. Texas being one, you can't use Binance, um, but you can use it in Wyoming. And actually, Binance. There's some stuff. There's a main Binance that excludes the United States citizens altogether. You have to use a VPN to sign up with them. But the point of it is you also, if you do have to set up an LLC, in the preferred state, and then a foreign, your Wyoming LLC, for example, in the states that you're residing in, so you can do business in that state. And if you don't do that, there can be tax problems and everything else. And there's plenty of resources. There's a website called Inkfile, INCFILE. I think that's a .com, and that's they will go over and they will set you up your LLC, for a fee and all this stuff. They have training videos and how tos and all this other stuff. It's fairly simple to do, and so. The thing is if you start investing money in equipment, or if you're investing, you want to put those assets in an LLC. And the next thing you want to do is set up a living trust, and put your LLC in a living trust, also protecting some of your assets. So it's the way wealthy people do things. So, and watch as many videos by Robert Kiyosaki as you can. He'll make you feel better about the Green New Deal and everything else. He says he doesn't. It's like how to pay no taxes and what to invest in, like using debt instead of debt is free money instead of spending equity and that sort of thing. And real billionaires don't pay taxes. So, and the thing is that once you start, I mean, so I probably I got a little over 1,000 Ethereum, $1,000 in Ethereum, not 1,000 Ethereum. I'd be ready to retire then, because Ethereum is about $2,300 uh, coin right now. Um, Once you start, making this, and and if you're spending money on equipment and stuff like that, you need to move those assets into a company, and that gives you a lot of protection, and it's also easier to deduct these items than trying to do as a sole proprietor.
Oh,
So those are some life hacks. But yes, there's helium and MXC, and those are the up and coming green. Oh yeah, there's one called Chia. Okay, now Chia is, it says they're green. They're using they are actually trying to do use hard drive space for mining or something like that. But it's not that green. Um, well, they're calling themselves green. The actual uh, let's say these are low power IoT hotspots. That is, you know, these things use 9 watts. That's about $1 a month.
Are these like M5s or something?
Well, they actually have Raspberry Pis in them,
Oh, okay, they were Pis. Okay,
so
I've
they're
been I've been digging around with M5 stacks this week. That's been my new poison of choice outside of Raspberry Pi.
yeah. Well, they actually use as their computing engine a Raspberry Pi, and they're using a 915 megahertz transmitter, and they're limited to 1 watt. That 1 watt can get you plenty of coverage. I mean, it depends on location. The trick is you become a neighbor to yourself. So I'm close to work, so I set up my hotspot here, and work is a couple of miles down the road. Put one there, and now I'm like tripling my money. And since I'm a radio guy, I can also do stupid antenna tricks. And so with 915 megahertz, I can use Yagis and everything else. I can get some reach, and go 10 miles if I want to. But you need neighbors to uh, get your proof of coverage. And then, of course, I'll be, arm twisting some people into putting the little hotspots in their apartments and stuff in more urban areas. And that's, especially people owe me money. All right, you're going to pay your debt off right here. So that's why I bought 7 of them. And that's, you know, if I get enough coverage on this stuff, I mean, because this thing is going to explode, and the helium token has already risen in price dramatically. I mean, of course, anything else, it'll probably burn out in a year or two, and that's how it goes. And they'll have their network, and then people, if they don't get paid, they won't keep their little mining hotspots up and running. So, but they'll have their network. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I just know that it's there.
All right, guys. I think we'll talk about a different subject matter. By the way, anybody wants to join, I just tweeted out the link for actually joining the chat. If anybody wants to.
I'm going to put a link to get this one started into this, so you can share that out with.
Put it in the show notes.
I don't know if I can. Do I have edit?
If you don't, ask for it and I'll add you.
All right, let me go to YouTube. I mean, I can start putting up links to all this stuff because, I've been spending, of course, I've been doing. All right, hold on. Let me temporarily mute so I can.
What I've been doing for the last week or so, I've had this weird urge to order camping equipment. I think I might try my hand at hammock camping, and I realized I really didn't have a proper bug out bag. Not that I can think of a time when I'd actually want to bug out from where I'm at. It's not exactly up in the mountains and away from everybody, but it's also not exactly a place where riots are likely to happen.
Yeah, I've been giving you some feedback on that one through Twitter. And one thing I would also recommend is you try your shit out in your backyard before you go taking it out. Make sure you know how
that's definitely a plan.
Make sure you set it up. Make sure it works. Make sure it's not gonna fall apart like a piece of shit, etc.
Yeah. It may not be in my backyard, but it'll be someplace.
You could bug out.
I used to keep a little blog thing on how to make that kind of survival equipment on the cheap, like how to make homebrew stuff. And because what I was seeing was a lot of price gouging and a lot of people selling duct tape and plastic, after, at ridiculous prices. And when I say ridiculous, like, okay, waterproof matches. I mean, everyone wants their you have to have your 3 ways of making fire, right? But I was seeing people charging $25 for a canister with 5 waterproof matches in it.
Yep.
And like for a third of that, you can go down to the grocery store, get a block of canning wax and a box of stick matches, and make 1,000.
Yeah, I bought packs of Uko. They have like a pack of 25 stormproof matches with 3 strikers for like $15, if that. Yeah. And these are like really good stormproof matches. I mean, they're the ones that you dunk in the water, they'll relight, kind of shit.
Yeah, I got an electric lighter. I think there's some matches in there someplace or another. And I got one of those, what are they called? Ferrite rods?
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of luck with those.
You mean magnesium? Magnesium?
No, the fire strikers.
Oh, the strike. Okay, yeah. I have one that's like part magnesium, where you scrape it and you make a little pile of magnesium, and you flip it over and you hit the striker.
Adrian, how are you striking it?
There's a piece of on one of them. There's a piece of steel that comes with it. On another one, I tried using the axe head because it's actually a piece of ferrite rod inside of an axe head.
Yeah, don't use an axe head. Use the or a knife. Don't use a knife edge or axe edge. Use the back of it. Use the flat portion and run along the ferrocinium.
I need to practice more. Also, the ferrocinium rods, do they come with a little bit of a coating when you first get them?
They do, and it rubs off, but it's no big deal.
What's the coating even there for? Does it corrode at the time? Or?
I think it's to prevent... What's that?
Prevent corrosion during overseas shipping from China.
I mean, yeah, it could be corrosion. It could also be to some kind of magnesium coating to help it burn for the first couple times you use it.
Y'all need to
what do you have for fire starting assistance stuff?
What was that, Barry?
You need to go to gun shows. They got all that stuff at gun shows.
The problem is, in gun shows, you're gonna find all kinds of the stupid FUD boomer shit that's sold from China that's not worth a damn.
Well, some of them
Amen.
are, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Amazon reviews. As far as fire making stuff, I generally always have a little bit of paper in my wallet or something, or usually if I can find dried leaves. If it's really wet out, assuming it's not super cold, I'm going to probably just bivy bag it and hope for the best.
You want something that you have right now that is one of the best fire starters?
What's that?
Dryer lint.
Yeah. Dryer lint or cedar chips and
Get an old
petroleum
school-
gauze.
An old school 35 millimeter film can, and you fill it with dryer lint, and if you want to, you can add like Vaseline to it.
Yeah.
In a
But some kind of
mixture.
petroleum jelly.
Yeah, and that shit will burn. That'll burn like a Salem witch.
Mm-hmm. It's basically an old school. You can take those, or you can take if you get like one of those old school egg cartons, the ones that are made of cardboard, not the styrofoam ones, and you can fill it with candy wax or petroleum jelly. You can use dryer lint or cedar chips or cedar shavings because cedar burns really hot. Basically, you fill the carton up and you cut each segment apart. It's basically just a quick little fire starter that way.
Yeah, what I've done in the past is I've taken yarn and dipped it in candle wax.
Yep.
And once you start burning that, you just wrap it around a stick.
Yep.
But you
Put in that,
want to
and-
use paraffin wax instead of candle wax.
Yeah.
It works and it's what's available. And
It
be
works,
just
but
raw,
you can get paraffin wax a lot cheaper than candle wax.
but I have the candles.
No,
Well,
there
that's,
you go.
that's how I start the barbecue. Well, I can't do it here, but whenever I was doing all the cooking, I would I get these things called Texas tumbleweeds, and they were basically like pine shavings that were soaked in paraffin. And you set one of those things on fire, and it just kept on going.
Yeah, there's something I've seen some survivalists talk about called fat wood, which is like almost a naturally occurring version of that, where I think it's in types of pines, where the sap will start seeping into a certain part of the tree.
Yeah.
And that resin or whatever is very flammable.
Pines and other evergreens are very sappy, so they burn really hot. So you can take those and burn them really well. Pine knots I know as well are basically just an amalgamation of bark and sap, and those also burn really, really well too.
Yeah, don't be careful when you're cooking with
Yes.
because I mean you'll get temperatures of above 500 degrees. I mean you're practically going to be blacksmithing on that stuff.
Well, not just that, but it can also be toxic too. If it's, for example, you don't want to smoke your food using pine because that can poison you. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of BTUs in pine. So and even seasoned pine wood still is very hot burning.
Yeah.
So-
Dickie makes a good point there in we just lost Adrian. Dickie makes a good point there in the chat about cooking oil. It's going to depend upon your mission. If you're backpacking, you're going to want to limit space and weight, so you don't want to carry large, heavy stuff. If you're doing this at home, then yeah, you've got a lot more freedom for storage and longevity, and weight's not really so much an issue anymore. So you can, I've got home cooking setups that I can't carry because they're too damn heavy. You know, I've got portable butane stoves and shit like that I can't carry because they're just so damn big and heavy. So I've got little, jet boil type systems that I can carry because they're tiny and light.
It's
The
funny that
key thing for what I'm talking on is that there's a lot of stuff out there you have for free.
Yep.
That's right there in your home that you don't have to pay. You have to pay anything for. You just got to collect it. A good buddy of mine back east in Jersey, he shreds his shit mail, snail mail, the advertisement, stuff like that, and does the shred, soak, and make into his own Bakelite logs.
Yep.
And that stuff's free. All you got to do is run it through a paper shredder, and then get a power drill and a bucket, and just whir.
Now, Adrian, something else to consider is for both fire making and cooking is alcohol stoves, because you can get them for like $15. They're
Oh,
super
by the
cheap.
way, I missed about 5 minutes or so there because I had to disconnect with the internet.
Oh, you didn't miss much. Basically saying that Dickie pointed out using cooking oil,
Right.
and if you buy an alcohol stove, you can get natural gas for it. That's like
Jacob did number 5.
Yeah, it's like $5-6 for like a gallon of it. You can use
Oh,
isopropyl alcohol in them, and they burn real easily. But the problem is it burns really hot and burns clear, so you gotta be really careful when you use it because you can light yourself on fire if you're not careful.
I thought isopropyl alcohol burns fairly low, but it's
Well,
very flammable.
it burns hot, but it also burns clear. So you have to be careful when you burn it because you can't
Also,
see the flame necessarily.
there's a difference between the isopropyl alcohol you get at the drugstore and the kind you get at Fry's. Rest in peace.
Yeah,
The
91%.
3% versus 99%. There's going to be a sincere difference.
Yeah, you want 91% at least, if not higher.
Yeah.
no, since I don't plan on, well, first I wouldn't be drinking rubbing alcohol to begin with. But my thing isn't stuff like Sterno essentially gelled ethanol.
Yes,
Sterno drinkers.
they actually have sterno stoves that you can basically just put a sterno can in and light it. Sterno tends to be kind of heavy and doesn't put out a lot of heat for what it is, so it's not usually recommended for like backpack camping. If you want to do backpack camping, alcohol stoves are a little better for that. If you want something a little more long term, I would recommend a jet stove, like a jet boil, or you can get a lot of Chinese ones that are pretty good too.
See, I imagine most of my needs I can probably take care of in fire coals. I haven't ordered a mess kit, so I have a few more options. But I don't know if I'd go to the length of carrying around, what do they call it? Is it a jet stove?
Yeah. Well, they're tiny. They're like an ounce or two for some of the smallest ones. They're very lightweight.
Sounds like you'd be better off just carry a bunch of butane lighters and be done with it. I mean,
Yeah, those can break under extreme conditions.
Well, that's why you have spares.
Yeah, carry
Doesn't
some
matter
big
how many
lighters.
spares you have. You fall down the mountain, you're going to crack them open, and they'll be useless as tits on a tractor.
not all of them. You carry a dozen with you. You know, you're not going to break them all.
Yeah.
But I mean,
When was the last time you fell down a mountain?
it's been many decades. I don't do that backpacking stuff much anymore. I mean, when I did, I didn't carry anything to cook with. Everything was dry. You know, jerky and dried fruit and everything else. I had it all sealed up, so there was no fires. And so the heaviest stuff I carried was water.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably more important than cookware is looking at ways to gather and purify water.
Yeah, currently I got a copper cup and I got a single line, very small, I believe, aluminum container I can boil stuff in, but it's not a whole lot of the time.
Look to ways to do mechanical and chemical filtration using tools like Aquamira or Aquapure. Tablets are good for chemical.
I ordered some tablets and I got one of those life straw things.
Life straws aren't bad, but they tend to have a pretty short life overall. Using something like a Katadyn or what's the other one? What's the other major manufacturer? Shit, I'm drawing a blank. But they're basically two big manufacturers, Katadyn and the other one. I can't remember the name of it. And just they basically use them to like either gravity feed or you can use a small hand pump on them to pump water through them. And they have a filter that will filter out pretty much everything.
Right, because even though you have nice, clear spring water, and I've drank pure spring water before. There are some places that have these nice, beautiful creeks and everything else, and but they have beavers somewhere.
Yep.
I don't drink water because fish fucking it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it looks nice and clear and running fast, and it's riddled with cholera.
Well, it's what do you call it? Giardia, or there's
or cryptosporia. Yeah. There's all kinds of nasty shit there. Even though the water looks good,
it's usually a one-celled organism that gives you the Montezuma's revenge.
Now here's the question, though. If this is all true and there's all this biological hoo-ha going on here, what is the deal with all these old shows like Grizzly Adams and the Mountain Men and all that, and they just go climbing up the mountain and drink the spring water and wrestle bears, and they lived for a good long time?
Well,
did they just spend all their time in the shitter or something?
No, because they become immune to it.
Ah.
All right.
I'm sure it was not healthy for them, but
well, I mean, there's some. I mean, cholera is one of the really deadly typhoid, typhus, cholera, stuff like that. But
You- You're you're
your
pretty
standard,
good drinking. If you're pretty good drinking, like fast moving spring water, that's a pretty good bet that it's pretty good. Now,
right?
if it's you're drinking it from an area where a sheep died in the stream and you don't know that the sheep died in a stream and that's like above stream of you, and you just happen to be an unlucky bastard that drinks the water below that dead rotten sheep that's in the water, then you're probably going to get fucked up from that. But the odds of being that person are slim, but
Yeah.
it does happen you know
Don't go where the huskies go, and don't you eat that yellow snow.
Actually,
Right.
you're better off with pee than with parasite water.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is our people have been drinking infested waters for many years, and they developed tolerance to it. Nowadays, people don't. It's all it's purified water, or they put ammonia or fluoride in it, um, or they put yeah, ammonia or
Chlorine.
chlorine in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the microbes are killed,
Hmm.
and so who knows what is being killed in our nice water that it was beneficial. But um, you know, now in Europe they developed a beer culture because all the water was poopy water. And what could you do? You could boil it and you could ferment it into a very low grade, like 2.9% ABV sour beer. And so for several centuries, even pregnant women and children be drinking sour beer instead of
Yep.
water.
Because the beer was safe, the water wasn't.
Right. And they built a resistance to alcohol. And so
And
cultures
all their
that
kids
didn't
came out with
have
crooked teeth and bad accents.
cultures that didn't have a alcohol in their past were more subject to alcoholism, especially when they were introduced to distilled spirits.
There's too much blood in my alcohol.
Yep. Anyway, no, I do not have edit access to the show notes,
Well, it
so
reminds me a little bit about the
So
history of grog.
do request access, and I'll add you.
I did.
All right.
In the history of grog, I mean, sailors couldn't keep their fresh water pure. They were taking on ships. They would grow algae or or other things you didn't really want to consume. So, grog is rum distilled with water.
Water and I think lime juice. And by the way, you should
Yes,
be
they didn't
now,
include
Barry.
lime.
All right.
What?
See.
Oh,
Let
Barry,
me
I was setting up something for Barry on the side.
all right, let's see if I can.
But yeah, I think the normal recipe isn't it like rum, water, and lime juice?
Yeah, lime was apparently just because this watered down
scurvy.
rum was just apparently, I don't know, according to Wikipedia, not because of scurvy. It was just because it tasted awful with just watered down rum.
Yeah, and it probably did help with some of the killing of bad flora because it's slightly acidic. But that's probably more the rum than anything else. It's probably just kind of ancillary to it.
Okay,
Well,
so
what people actually did was they used let's see, they would use hops, for example, spices in their water. Now let's see if I can paste the link.
And real quick, Adrian, before you're thinking about it, no, you cannot burn most alcohols in a spirit burner. They will not burn. They're too low alcohol content.
yeah, I kind of
If you get if you get something like Everclear, then yeah, you can. But most of them are way too weak for it,
Yes,
or they
in
have
my
too much.
experience, you have to get
That's for
something.
drinking.
You have to get something up near at least 100 proof before it'll burn.
More, way more.
151 will burn.
Yeah, I
That
mean
is true.
that's why if you recommend if you're using isopropyl alcohol in a alcohol stove, you got to use at least 91%. Like if you try to use 70%, it won't burn usually.
Oh.
They have that warning on the bottles of 151 that say, hey, this will light on fire if you let it on
Yeah.
fire.
So if I just go out to the forest with a
Please
bottle
the
of
bartend.
So if I just go out to the forest with a
Oh,
bottle of
yeah.
Everclear and nothing else, I'm all good because that could be my moisture. That could be my fuel source. It could be also.
Well, no, I wouldn't get it from moisture because there's almost no
I know.
water in it.
I
So
know. I'm just thinking about the worst, one of the worst ways to die. It's just like,
well, I mean, alcoholism would do it because it saps the heat, it dehydrates you. Yeah, you die, especially in the elements. You die pretty quick from that.
yeah.
It's probably one of the worst things to do.
My honest thing, alcohol, it makes your body flush blood to the outside of your body, which makes you feel
Yes,
warm, but your internal organs are not necessarily doing so great.
correct. It will drop your core temperature. And because it actually will make you thirstier and hungrier because your body has to work harder to process the alcohol out of your system. So it will basically starve and thirst you as well to death if you don't have anything else to eat or drink.
Depends on if it's beer.
Yeah,
There are people who have lived off of.
Guinness.
Well, Guinness is actually one of the lowest calorie beers out there. It's only like 90 calories. We're talking about real stouts.
Oh yeah. Well, because someone said they were living off of like Guinness and vitamin C tablets to basically ward off scurvy, because it's of all the hops and various elements inside the beer that it could actually sustain you off of it for like not well, but it would sustain you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I plan on just packing in a couple of MREs.
I would recommend against that. MREs can be very heavy and a lot of salt, so I would recommend if you're gonna actually do prepared meals, get some dehydrated stuff like Mountain House or Wives and use those instead. You could just use a little jet
Oh,
boil
now,
stove to boil some water, and there you go, you're ready to go.
Are you going camping
Mountain
yet, Jim?
House is a glorified salt lick. You realize that?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I've actually gotten sick off of Mountain House, and all they did was go, "Oh well, we deny it," and I'm like, "Well, I've been living in my bathroom for 2 days, so fuck you."
Yeah, live beef. I plan on doing at least some experimentation in some local parks.
You need to take me with you. We can kill something and eat it.
I don't know about
Huh.
that. The places I'm going, I'm pretty sure don't allow hunting.
All
Who
right.
said it needs to be allowed?
Are you going solo or are you going with anyone?
Probably solo.
All right. Well, be safe.
Well, I mean, I went hiking throughout Oak Creek Canyon but that was after I was in really good shape. I was still climbing radio towers and not all chunky and stuff, and I just got off of 4 months on a seismic boat, so I was there. License. I was the equivalent of a master electrician, but it was for radio. So I was their radio guy.
Yeah, I'd like to find out more about the rules about camping. Some of the local parks I have, because quite frankly, I don't want to rent a campground because I don't want just a normal flat out piece of land. I want some trees around me. I want to be out in the woods, and I plan on trying a hammock to do this in. So let me see how well I can hang from the various trees.
Hammocks are awesome. I've spent a lot of time in a hammock, and they're great.
I spend a lot of time at home in bed, and it's pretty great too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the hammock looks like it at least takes care of a lot of the bedding system too. I've heard people write up that the system with a tent is actually lighter weight than a system with a hammock. But looking at the bedding you have to bring, I guess it depends on the weather. It looks
Yeah.
like
If you
it be lighter.
if you rip one in a hammock, it just dissipates into the air.
Well, that's part of the problem is hammocks are not really built for cold weather because you don't have a lot of insulating layer below you. You can't build one, so you're gonna more likely freeze your butt off, if not freeze to death.
Yeah, I've heard
Where
something for an underquilt. There's ways around that,
Yeah.
but that of course adds to the bulk.
Yeah, and so I mean, in the summer where it's hot, oh hell yeah! I mean, the hammock is great because you have lots of ventilation that way. It's just put a simple A-frame over you to shield yourself from the elements, and yeah, you can get pretty comfy that way.
Yeah, I got just a simple net on mine, the one I ordered, but I do have like a 12 by 10 tarp that I can put over me.
Now, one thing to consider, especially in the summer where you live, is mosquito protection. They actually do have summer sleeping bags that can actually have mosquito nets in them that help keep you from being eaten alive. Especially depending on where you are in the world. Like around here, yeah, I kind of need that in the summer because mosquitoes around here will literally eat you alive.
Depends on where I'm at. If I'm not near any wetlands, it's not too bad here in southern Indiana.
Yeah. Also, during summer, make sure that you have lots of good tick protection too, and you dress properly for that because you'll find ticks and chiggers and fleas and all that fun jazz. And
Yeah, I do some hiking, so I know about those things a little bit. And I have gotten things like chiggers and these little wounds on my leg that I'm not sure what exactly attacked me, and they stay around for a while.
yeah,
It could have, yeah. Chiggers are basically a type of spider mite that crawls under the skin. It's no fun, but
yeah, I've had them. They suck ass.
Yeah, I had something like chiggers, or maybe it was chiggers. I'm not sure what it was. They gave me something called Metro Lotion. I think it was. No, that wasn't Metro Lotion. That was for a different rash. Let's talk about eating various rashes. Yeah. No, they gave me some kind of lotion to rub on myself that would
Calamine probably.
It wasn't calamine, no.
Huh?
It was something specifically that kills things like chiggers.
Oh, okay.
I think we used nail polish or nail polish remover. One of those two killed him.
Now,
I think it's the polish remover.
Nail polish would cover up the hole and make it not able to breathe. Nail polish remover will kill anything that's on your skin.
Yeah, because
That'll strip your skin. Yeah, acetone will just eat your skin alive, and you'll be like, oh, well, the hole's 5 times bigger now, but no more chigger.
Oh, speaking of something like that, I don't know about nail polish doing that much to your skin, but there is something out there. I can't remember.
No, nail polish remover.
Oh, remover. Okay.
Will do that to your skin.
Nail
polish itself won't fuck your skin up that badly, but the remover will.
There is some chemical that I think it's derived from plants that people are using to remove things like skin tags and other things that they think might possibly be cancerous or something. But it causes these big burn holes of chemical burns, and it's really fucking nasty. It's not quite a chemical burn. It's not what it's called. It's like black something.
Well, skin tags, just a good pair of toenail clippers take care of those real quick.
Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Black something. Don't do the toenail clipper things, by the way. Oh,
just
freeze it.
Just use the wart remover for that stuff.
Yeah, you can get freezing stuff also. But does anybody know what I'm talking about? It's called something like black root or black something. Oh shit, black salve, I think is what it's called.
I might have some around here somewhere. I got all sorts of crazy junk.
What remover?
As everybody runs to their computers.
I thought it was black salve. I could be wrong.
Well, since everyone's running to their computers, it's that special time of the night where I have to say that one magical thing,
What's that?
Okay, Google, donkey porn.
I heard someone's trip off. That was Adrian, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, do y'all look up the black salve? Oh, salve. How do you pronounce it? Salve? I always say salve.
SALVE.
Yeah, salve.
Salve versus salve.
Black salve, also known by the brand name Canisima, is a scientific cancer treatment. The product is commonly classified as an escharotic, a topical paste which destroys skin tissue and leaves behind a scar called an eschar. People are going to totally fuck with me about my pronunciation.
Corrosive ingredients, dangerous and not approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Escharotics were widely used to treat skin lesions in the early 1900s, but have since been replaced by safer and more effective treatments. Escharotics, such as black salves, are currently advertised by some alternative medicine makers as treatments for skin cancer. often with unsubstantiated testimonies and unsupported claims of effectiveness. Actually, I remember seeing this one person covering this shit, and they were showing up somebody who was putting it on their dog for something the dog had. And this dog just had this, after putting the shit on it, the dog just had a nasty ass looking wound.
Yeah, check out this one. This guy put it on his nose,
Well,
and whammo.
there's a old remedy for brown recluse bites, and that is beechwood creosote. Believe it or not,
Interesting.
creosote is the one that soaks up the brown recluse venom.
Okay, so that may work. The point of this thing is, though, this is a treatment that causes more problems than what it's supposedly trying to cure.
That sounds like a lot of cures around the early 1900s. We'll cure your sickness. We'll cure your syphilis with arsenic. It's like, okay.
Yeah, how about we not and say we did?
Usually, if it's an alternative medicine provider, what they're advertising either A doesn't work or B will hurt you more than what you have.
Yeah, there's a really nasty hole in this guy's nostril right there.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me add the stream.
Oh wow, yeah, that's right to the septum. That's pretty bad.
That looks like a little on the ouch side.
I'm sorry. How do we get on this topic?
Although now you mentioned it, creosote is a good fire starter.
We were talking about being out in bugs, about camping out, and then talking about how to treat against them.
Like nothing about technology at all.
Because the best way to fight bugs is to give them a nice hole to get into inside of you.
No, this was
how it got. I think it got on the skin blemishes, and then people using the shit to remove stuff. I don't remember exactly how it got on.
No, we're talking about being bitten bugs on the trail, and then about ways to deal with them, and then this topic came up because it was a way to treat bug bites, and obviously not treat that very well.
Acetone remover was, and I said this is far worse than acetone.
It looks like it treats bug bites, but removing everything, removing the inflammation and everything else.
Yes.
I mean, shit. Remove all the skin, and you don't have a problem anymore.
I mean, and yeah, if you can't have a broken arm if you have no arm.
There you go.
I've used a black salve before. Specifically, it draws stuff out. So, like if you have an infection or whatever, you put it on there, and it kind of draws the infection out of your skin. It's always worked good for me, but I don't know.
I mean, wart remover is going to take some stuff off your hide. So.
Oh, what was that shit I used to use? Hold on.
Yeah, because you're freezing the wart off. That's why.
Well, no, you're
Ixtamol. That's what I used to use.
It's actually salicylic acid that is a corrosive that starts removing the the wart. You're not you don't want to necessarily do it on skin tags on your face or on sensitive parts of your body or anything like that.
So don't use it on those herpes scars.
Yeah.
By the way,
Ixtamol is the stuff I used to use, and it's OTC approved. It does look like a black. It looks like a black salve, but it's referred to as Ixtamol.
Yeah.
ICTHAMMOL.
When you're nearing your nutsack, definitely keep it to only 10 minutes.
Or don't.
Oh, okay.
You want to know the number one thing that you'd want to no on your nutsack? I will tell you for free. Is extra strength tiger bone. You do not want that shit on your nutsack. And how I found this out. Before I had my spine surgery, I was living on tiger bone. And you just could not make tiger balm strong enough to keep my back happy. But man, it took the edge off of everything. And then I found online they have these pads about the size of a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper that were completely soaked in tiger balm.
Yeah.
And they had adhesive patches on it. And I put that on my lower spine, and I just felt so good. So good, right? So what I did was I hit the shower and, heat treated my back as much as I could. Got out of the shower and then sat down on my bed and slapped that pad on my back. And I sat there and had all the good feelings, and then I stood up. And I could feel the pad slipping, and then it fell off. And I sat down again, and the pad went right across my nutsack with extra strength Tiger Bomb.
Well, there you
And
go.
let me tell you, you want to hear somebody sing in the chorus? Oh, hello.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen. I've had pepper spray go off in my front pocket on getting my ball sack, but that's about it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it didn't hit my ball sack, but you know what I did? Do you remember 110 cameras?
Vaguely.
Do you remember the flash bars that used to come with 110 cameras? It was about the size of a candy bar, and it had like 8 flash bulbs in it.
yeah, I
And
think so.
you plug it into a 110 camera, and it would give you a one-time flash.
I
I had
remember
one of
flash
those.
bulbs.
I had one of those in the front pocket of my jeans once, and friction set the whole thing off.
Oops.
And wow, that was
Yeah,
no
that's a
fun.
burn. It's not as bad as a radiation burn like from
No.
RF, but that'd be the worst.
Or
Electrical.
that Russian guy who stuck his head in the particle accelerator.
Well, yeah, well,
Oh,
anything.
what happened to him?
He lived for a few weeks, but man, it was no fun.
Well, I mean, that was just getting bombarded with neutrons or something.
Yeah, well, they basically bored a hole through his head.
Yeah. I mean, if it's electrons, it's electricity. If it's protons, well, ooh, that's really bad too. Um, and if it's neutrons, well, forget it because neutrons just are the heaviest. You know.
Yeah, he didn't last long. They thought he was going to die instantly, but he didn't. He was just sort of, hi guys, I'm fucked.
Well,
So
I don't know. I mean, if you had a laser that was say 9 nanometers and it was very strong and it shot through your head, it might cause brain damage. You may still live.
There you go. There's your
did,
110 camera with a
did he have
flash
any
bar.
intelligence changes or anything after the accident? Before
Oh
he...
yeah, he was a complete, vegetable practically. I mean,
Okay.
he was okay for the first couple hours, a couple of days, and then it was just sort of like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
There's a particle accelerator I went to in Bloomington that apparently they're doing stuff with cancers with. Because they have these like shields they make to make the particle to accelerate, which I don't remember if it was a neutron or a proton or what. Make it, I think it was a proton.
Proton.
It
There you
slows things
go.
down just enough to where you can stop the proton where they want. And what that does is it chemically changes the material where it hits, and it can, basically carve a cancer from the inside out. For lack of a better way of saying it.
Anatoly Burkowski.
So what that is they use a gamma knife and they use various types of radiation treatment. They this stuff like that for like brain cancers and brain tumors. They will focus these, you know, even lasers and stuff like that to a point of where they want to hit the tumor at, and so it'll penetrate, through, but until it comes to that junction, and then that's how they zap the tumor.
It's not a tumor.
Well, damn, his head looks kind of messed up. Look at that.
Well, he was kind of swelling up a little bit there.
It was a proton beam.
So it shows where it went through his head too.
When,
Yeah.
when, when
Yeah.
was this?
Oh, this is in Russia. I think was it
When?
25 years ago? Let me see.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me go back to the end all be all of things here.
Encyclopedia
78.
Dramatica?
78. Man who stuck his head inside of the I don't know if is that actually him?
So it actually drilled a hole through his head.
I don't think it was a physical hole.
Extreme Trends presents This Man Put It Every Day. Contains more than curious scientists, Marvel
come on.
comic book,
What a bunch
powerful
of
particle
horseshit. There you
accelerator
go.
in the world. That single
There's your
black
particle
thing
accelerator,
of
but
skip
nah,
70,
there's
but
no
the
actual
scientist would
pictures
still
of
be
the
alive
guy.
even a week later. Gorski with several
Fucking
long-term health
clickbait.
problems. For one thing, the left side of his
Clickbait.
face suffered
Yum.
severe nerve damage, leaving it paralyzed and seemingly untouched by aging. For another, the scientist's hearing never returned to his left ear,
Zing.
and there was
No, that's not gonna.
Okay, so
So live long and don't fuck with the radioactive parts of a starship.
You mean I won't get the powers of the Hulk?
Yeah, you'll get spocked.
The Hulk was gamma rays, but he was injected with a special serum. They were trying to reproduce Captain America.
Well, that may have been what it was in the Ultimates universe. That wasn't the original Marvel Continuity.
Yeah, the original version, he was just sitting in the chair hitting the buttons, and it went, oops, 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 too much radiation.
Well, that was the TV show. Now, in the comic books, he went out to save a kid named Rick Jones, who was out there in the test grounds for whatever reason. He got him into like some kind of ditch or something, but Bruce Banner got hit by the gamma radiation from the gamma bomb and put him into the Hulk.
See, that's the thing. Like most people realize, you play a role-playing game, you're gonna hit radiation. No, it's not gonna turn your ass to a super mutant or some kind of superhero. No, it's gonna give your ass cancer. It's gonna make your skin fall off.
Now,
Radiation is not your friend.
I do think the Hulk in the Ultimates universe did have a tie into the Super Soldier Serum thing, because a lot of people are apparently trying to recreate it. And part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is sort of based on the Ultimates universe. For instance, Nick Fury looking like Samuel L. Jackson. Apparently, they didn't ask permission from Samuel L. Jackson before doing that, and he worked out a deal after he found out, like, okay, but if you do any movies with him in it, I want to play him, since the character always looks like me.
Well,
and I think there's a few other weird things from the Ultimates universe that they seem to bring into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I can't really think of them off the top of my head right now.
Well, electrons are that's how electricity is made. So when you get hit with a stream of those, it's you're electrocuting yourself. Protons are different, and the thing is, they will collide with your atoms, and it won't be pretty. Neutrons are the worst because they're the heaviest, and they just destroy everything. So, yeah, you don't want to get hit with neutrons.
So what the hell do we do to make the Ghostbusters backpack then?
They were using a unlicensed proton accelerator.
Okay, so basically staged looping, and out comes the fun.
Yeah, I mean, they might have used some kind of.
Oh, there was some website I found where a bunch of physicists got drunk and decided to design the actual thing. I read about that a long time ago. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, but see, how do you contain and focus a proton accelerator that put because remember it was
With
shooting
magnets.
out lightning bolts.
With magnets.
Well, yeah, you got to use magnets. Okay, but that gets awfully heavy.
Well, yeah, it didn't look light.
And of course, it looked like they were shooting out lightning bolts. So,
well, that was just movie effects. I mean,
Well, instead of using heavy electromagnets, they were using microwaves and electrons to contain the proton. I mean, they use like even lasers to as containment fields for various things.
Oh man, they had a whole page on the physics of Ghostbusters at Florida Tech, and they took it down.
No. Oh well.
I thought the Ghostbusters packs were positrons.
That's Star Trek.
Positrons are
actually
he literally recited the quote from the movie where each one of us is carrying an unlicensed something diddly do accelerator.
Proton accelerator.
Yeah, proton accelerators
on our backs.
Yeah. They have nuclear reactors on them to power them.
Ooh, that looks sexy.
Well, in the show notes, I just posted some links to info, videos, life hack type of things. Yeah, basically with having to do with crypto, and setting up your LLC, and
Well, at least on Wikipedia it says positrons for the Ghostbusters packs.
positrons. Well, So how? I mean, how do you? I mean, I forget what you have to do to create a positron.
A
His
Okay,
positron is
compliments it.
basically antimatter electron.
it's an anti-electron. So, but you can't create antimatter that easily. I mean, it's very expensive and requires really high temperatures and stuff like that. It's kind of like creating a Higgs boson, okay, which is a particle with no mass that only lasts for, a fraction of, I don't know. That's the one that it
But that
comes
was
out
in
of nothing.
theory, though, wasn't it? Have they proven that yet? The no mass part?
They proved it. It is
Oh,
a
okay.
if it the Big Bang happened and it created something from nothing. Now the Higgs boson, which is a muon, and it didn't have a mass until the temperature came down, and then it acquired mass, turned into a different particle, or quark, or something like that.
I just remember somebody once told me, "Your mama's so fat she has mass, whether or not the Higgs exists."
No, they recreated one, but they had super hot lasers and stuff like that doing it. And they proved it happened.
Oh God, this is bad. The real science in the new Ghostbusters. I'm gonna skip that right there.
Yeah, there wasn't that much. Yeah. But antiprotons are, I mean, yeah, you're or, anti, yeah.
Adrian, when you coming to visit?
I don't fucking know. I'm a malcontent shut-in,
Hey, that's my job.
but I'm limited who I interact with in the community. But you're one of the people I'll interact with.
I'm gonna come down there and kick your ass if you don't get up here. I'm gonna get you.
Well, we're all gonna get together for your wedding, so you might as well just hold off on that.
Who's getting married?
Oh, that's right. He's not here tonight. Shit.
Frank, is he? He's serious about. Uh, my brain's farting. That nice young lady on the other night.
Well, I can only quote you from the script here, which says, "quote I am going to wed this chick. I am serious."
Yeah, he talked about buying a moving van to get himself out there to see her.
Guys, let's not talk this much about someone else's personal life.
No, you said it on the cast.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you missed that one, and it was, she's very nice. So
She's got more brains than I do.
I don't know. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So,
Well, how about this? I pulled the plug on a scam this week. Multi-layer scam, very nice one. Guy goes on to the Facebook Marketplace and says, "I have a tenant in my warehouse who bailed on his rent, so I'm selling everything in the warehouse, $99 a shot. Laptops, tablets, everything that's got to go." And it points you to this website. And the website is a redirect to a Shopify site. And the Shopify site shows you all these laptops, brand new, 2020 edition Macintoshes and stuff like that. $99, you can only buy one each, and you go through PayPal. And PayPal says, yes, this account is verified. It belongs to this, some art consortium. And the art consortium doesn't exist. It's got a web page that's been alive for about 20 minutes. And but it is verified. It is validated. So you got a hold of the guy whose account it was, and he's like, "I got no fucking clue what you're talking about. Go fuck yourself." And I said, "Well, you're going to be hearing from PayPal in a little bit." And it turns out they made a good chunk of money off of this scam.
wow.
They had compromised the guy's PayPal account, and they were having people send $99 a throw for a brand new Macintosh laptop. And as fast as the money came in, they took it out. And he had no idea that people were using his account for that.
Well, were the people who were doing this then sending out legit products?
Nope. they were just keeping the money and saying, "Have a nice day, sucker," because
You-
there
Oh
was
wow.
no
Who
there.
is going to compromise a PayPal account and then send out the legit products? Why go through the effort of trying to make sure you wouldn't get caught and then send the product?
Yeah, they had
Yeah,
they
they,
had no they had no idea what was going on. Their account was being used without their knowledge.
yeah, scammers probably located in India or something like that, or Africa. So they don't. There is absolutely no intention. It's just a pure money grab. I mean, the old adage applies: if a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. So,
Well, I mean, it's obviously going to be not. I mean, a warehouse sale like that, okay. Number one, advertised on Facebook, right? Number two, points to a website that's like IGJ.com, Number three, goes to a Shopify account, Then it goes to PayPal. Now, the PayPal is the only place where it had seemed to have any legitimacy because it was validated and verified and all that.
Well, usually they're not going to release funds until there's ship. So they were
Right.
probably sending out shipping. They created basically shipping labels,
There we go. Let's see.
and that's how they were able to get the
which
money.
which you can create for free until the actual barcode's scanned. It's free. So.
Hang on a moment here.
Yeah, but who
Ladies
cares
and
about his free?
gentlemen,
They don't care about burning this guy's account. I mean, remember, PayPal is usually tied to a bank account. So
Yep. Hold on. So there you go. So there's the original ad that was on Facebook.
I'm actually watching the text come up on Facebook right now because I'm multi-streaming. In hindsight, I should have chose Frank's YouTube and not his Facebook because I can only choose so many at a time. But I chose my YouTube, his Facebook, and my Facebook.
So this is where it started. It started out with this ad on Facebook. I noticed it had the JLJINLUISHUI.com. And then that takes you to a web page that's called DCX Warehouse. And then that took you through to a PayPal, which I won't show you because I used my
Where'd you post
special
this?
secret. Huh?
Where'd you post this?
I didn't.
Okay.
These are just my own personal screenshots. I built up an entire case and handed it over to PayPal. I put it all, took all the screenshots and all the DNS information, and yes, they were running it through Cloudflare. Hooray!
Remind me before you do screenshots to put them up because if I don't put them on the screen, they don't actually show.
Well, I mean, like, this sounds like one of those instances where it'd be ripe to find out what's behind Cloudflare. Like, a lot of these scam sites, if they have, let's say, a Shopify module on their on their site, then that server is going to be sending out an email. When you get the email, check the sending IP.
Yeah, but it never did.
The problem is, they'll buy it with stolen credit cards or shit like that. So there's absolutely no, or they'll link to some dumbass in the U.S. who's just a mule for them, or it's a totally fake registration. It's absolutely nothing in it is valid. So it depends on how much validation they do. I don't know how much validation Shopify does. For example, Name Silo, a no registrar, does absolutely no validation.
No, you misunderstand. Shopify it's irrelevant. But the credential that you use for Shopify, the goal there is to find the IP of the underlying server. It's like get behind Cloudflare. They typically host all the stuff in the same box.
But again, that could also be bought with stolen credentials and all that stuff. So it doesn't really matter.
I'm just saying, here's one way you can get a common way you can try to find out what IP and scammers using behind their Cloudflare address.
Right.
Not saying it's gonna necessarily lead you to the scammer. It's just one more step along the way.
Well, anyway, so I added to the show notes, and I could dig up a whole bunch more stuff, but these are the getting started stuff. And I'll let you know if these helium miners pay off. But there are people who've been using them for several months, and since I'm a radio guy, it's like, yeah, I know this stuff. There's one miner that you had to use a crypto coin to buy. I like forget that.
Barry, you said you put something in the notes, but I don't see it.
Thunder Irongeek Cast 13 Frankless. Do I need to save? Oh, I need to save this stupid thing, right?
Maybe.
How do you? Okay, so let's see. File.
Maybe I may also be looking at a cached version.
I don't need to edit anymore.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
if you're using the web version, it should all be automatic.
I got it. I see it. Ooh.
So this is just kind of life hacks and stuff like that, and yeah, you need to, Adrian, you need to consider a revocable living trust and make it a firearms trust and put your firearms in there in case the SJW weirdos come after you and stuff like that. You can create. I've known people who've created NFA trusts, and I knew a lawyer. Well, he died of a heart attack, but he was sold suppressors and SBRs, and he was class 3 dealer, and he would set up NFA trusts so that instead of having to go through this, you know, jump through too many hoops, you'd still have to go through the background check, but you could get your, you know, suppressor or machine gun or whatever
The
done as in the trust owns it,
the
and
problem is that some of that's changed as the last couple of years. So a lot of the benefits of a trust are basically negated. The only rule of hinge of a trust anymore is if you want to have an item that's shared amongst multiple people, because you cannot have someone else have possession of the item without you present. Now, if you're on the trust and the trust owns the firearm, then yes, they can do that.
well,
But
that's the big thing. Okay, so you can, I mean, if it's an NFA, they have to have the background check. But if it's regular firearms, they don't necessarily have to have it. You're not transferring it to them. Say for example, you get in some legal problems. If your firearms are in a living trust, you can assign it to somebody else. Make them a manager of the trust or whatever, and so they're not going to come in and take them away. It says, well,
Hey,
they belong to the trust.
you mentioned silencers. Do you know what the deal is with the? I remember reading about this a while ago, but I never followed up on it. There were some people making silencer-like adapters where they weren't actually making a silencer, but they made this little adapter that you screwed onto the end of your pistol, and you screwed the other end into an oil filter.
oil filter suppressors, yeah, those are
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
Those you
What's
can those you can make, and you can actually form one of those as a suppressor because it is a suppressor host. So
so? What's the current standing on those? Are they illegal, legal, quasi-legal?
if you form one, it's legal.
If you
Form
yeah, if
form.
you if you register and pay your $200 tax stamp,
Hmm.
it's legal. I mean, I think that suppressors should be legal because
Yeah.
they don't they don't silence anything. Although I have been witness to a rifle that was I think it was a shooting 45 long Colt, and the entire barrel was a suppressor, and you could not hear the thing
Hmm.
until it hit the wall.
Yeah, there are some calibers that if you shoot subsonic loads with a certain suppressor, they will be very quiet. I know 300 Blackout with a on like a 9-inch platform using the 200 grain subsonic loads with a good suppressor, a 30 cal suppressor, it's gonna get quiet like an MP5 SC, they said. But most of the time, if you use just a suppressor with normal non-cold or subsonic ammunition, it's going to be still pretty fucking loud.
Well, and there is a big a proper use and that suppressor will put the sound forward instead
Hmm.
of behind you, so you don't have to have the heavy hearing protection.
Yeah, they can make him hearing safe. Depends on the firearm, depends upon the caliber, depends upon uh, the suppressor, number of factors.
You see, and my lawyer friend used to do. I mean, he had full suppressors. He would go feral hog hunting at night because that's when
Hmm.
they came out, and he would always hit them suppressed, and he would take out three or four of them before they ran off.
Now,
And
one thing important to check is to make sure that suppressor that hunting with a suppressor is legal in your state because some states don't allow it. Most states do, but I know Texas does. But some you want to double check that.
he was in Texas,
Yep.
and he was a lawyer, and he knew, and he was also a class three dealer, so he knew his stuff.
Well,
And
okay.
yeah, he knew all the laws. He's the one. I mean, you pay. Yeah, his NFA trusts were more expensive, but what came with it was, if you was also support after the sale. I mean, you can ask him, hey, here's what you do, what you can't do, and all this other stuff.
Yep.
So, and that's how and yes, he passed away from a heart attack. So, too bad. Yeah, I mean, he was a really nice guy too. But so the thing is when I mention these living trusts, okay, so whenever the big thing happened in 2012, the big scare, Obama's going to confiscate your AR-15s. You know,
It's so funny to hear that crap because it's just never going to happen.
Uh,
well,
They like to say it and they like to talk about it and la 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 la. But
Biden's been making a lot of fucking noise about executive orders
yeah,
and
and that's
so
about
forth,
all he's done.
and they're working on getting various things through Congress and then the Senate. So
Yeah, that's the only way they could do it is ban it through Congress and Senate. The problem is there's way more important shit they're focusing on that's
Right.
not gun related. So I don't see a lot passing this legislation, if anything.
right.
If ever, I mean, I just don't see it ever coming to pass.
Well,
I mean, they
so
might get things like bump stocks and 100 round drums, okay, but they're not gonna get door to door confiscation of AR-15s. That's just boogeyman
Not in
shit.
one go. No, they're not. It's going to take many years of that to get that point.
Yeah.
and there's already sanctuary, Second Amendment sanctuary states. I mean, Texas is one.
Which legally means nothing.
Yeah,
Well, that depends. I mean, there's sanctuary
No,
states
it
for
doesn't.
illegals.
No, it doesn't. Tenth Amendment applies.
How so?
Tenth Amendment says any right not granted by the federal government is granted to the states. Well, Second Amendment is through the Constitution. It's been incorporated, so it's no longer you can't do that.
Oh yeah,
It's
but
basically political grandstanding. It's all it is.
yeah, but I mean, like I'm saying, they have sanctuary cities for illegals, and no one does a thing
Yes,
about it. They're not going to
that's
do many much more about
that's because illegals are the jurisdiction of federal, but there is no right guaranteed by the federal government for
Oh,
that.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of the sanctuary stuff basically says we will not use state funds or state manpower or state time to assist federal authorities in that kind of thing. Which, yeah, they absolutely can because they can say "fuck you," we're not helping you with that, and that's totally fine.
yep. But they, I mean, if they're trying, if Biden would have to basically declare martial law to confiscate the firearms.
And that's not
It
going to
wouldn't
happen.
matter because I mean, I guarantee you, I absolutely promise you that the minute you start knocking on doors and taking guns away, some redneck's just going to rock and roll.
Well, yeah, I
And,
mean,
and then it'll be civil war, and it won't matter, what he declared or what he did or any shitty that shit. It's
no, I
just it's
mean,
all over. It's all over, but the shooting at that point.
you'd have large city police departments participating, but the rest,
Yeah,
I mean, a
participate
lot, but half of those police departments would walk off the job.
exactly. They're not gonna go into the bad part of town and say give us your guns. And if they ever really got organized, okay, if these people ever really got organized and did their thing the right way, there's no way they're gonna stop them without having to suspend habeas corpus and just send out the army.
And you'd get about 30% compliance with those that are enlisted.
Right, and
The rest
thirty
of the rest
percent
of
is
them
enough to take
would
care of a city.
yeah, they would they the rest of them would, you know, not. I mean, they've already done surveys and stuff on this.
The thing is, I understand the necessity of surveys, but those don't really mean shit.
Well, okay, so if there is going to be any kind of gun control, this is what's going to happen. They're going to pass universal background checks, which basically says that private party sales are no longer allowed, which is, I can easily see that getting defeated in court because you're now trying to do interstate transfer as intrastate transfer. You're trying to basically say that states must follow the same rules of commerce that the federal government does, which is not a pretty sight. But regardless, let's say that goes through and gets upheld, then of course it's going to do absolutely fuck all because of course it's going to do fuck all. It's not designed to do shit except make the people who are following the law keep following the law. So they're going to say, okay, it's not working, so now we have to have registration. So that's when they're going to register everything, and guess what? Registration, you have to comply. And then once they have registration, of course, it's still going to do fuck all because, again, it's designed to do fuck all. They're going to know who to go for assault weapons bans or confiscation, etc. So that's basically how it's going to go out, I think.
They already have when you got to fill out the stupid form. That is for to buy from an FFL.
Yes.
That is because what happens is the ATF can find one little violation and they can inspect the entire records, copy them, and put them in a database. And they've
No,
done
they
it.
can't.
Well, they've done it.
No, they can't. I guarantee you they have not.
I've talked to gun dealers. They've done it.
Bullshit. I'm an FFL. Trust me, that's never happened. Every time you hear about this, you hear about one FFL who says it, but you don't ever know who said it or what specifically. It's always very nebulous and very vague.
Yeah. So you can't just grab people. Now, what if the FFL shut
The thing,
down?
that's it. It's a boogeyman move. They want people to get riled up and scared that they're going to come in, kick in their doors, shoot their dog, and take their guns, and it's not going to happen. And the thing is, it's just being used as a scare tactic because too many people believe that it's going to happen, or they know it's not going to happen, but they're going to play along so they can freak out, and it's just.
Well, in 2012, the gun dealers were afraid that Obama would assign an executive order halting all sales of firearms or sales of semi-automatic rifles.
Which he can't do. That would have absolutely no power.
Well,
no, because that's trying to enact the law of Congress, which EOs have absolutely zero force to do. That would get shut down so damn fast.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
again, though, with all respect to the facts, that's not going to stop the scare tactic from working.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because people don't know better.
You're gonna get the boogeyman. You're gonna get the guys who are gonna go on their blogs, on their radios, on their whatever, their soapboxes. Oh, government's coming to take all our guns. It's time to, fill up oil drums full of Glocks and bury them in your backyard. And Jesus fuck.
Yeah, people did. They bought gallons of cosmoline and buried them up. I mean, there was discussion. Okay, what contingency things can we do? So, some in Texas they were talking about deputizing people who to keep their firearms. There was others that were talking about setting up.
All it's going to result in is population control. Because there's going to be one big fight, and we're going to lose about a third of the population to gunshot wounds, and then it'll last maybe a month. Realistically speaking, if they ever did get to the point where they were kicking in doors and taking guns, the bodies would hit the floor instantly. It would be the one great press the red button trigger. I mean, right now, all it takes is, one kid getting killed in a car pullover to make a city riot and go on fire. Can you imagine what would happen if, across the country you started kicking in doors and taking guns?
Well, the riots last year kind of
No, I'm talking about the ones that are
caused
happening
that.
this week. The riots that are happening this week.
Yeah, I mean the consider this. I mean, whenever I mean, I got a concealed handgun license. Okay,
As do I.
and so whenever the riots were happening, so usually you only carry one firearm. Okay, so and I was driving across the city. Okay, so if you have basically carjackers shutting down freeways and pulling people out of cars, so you have to. So I had to say I have to have the capability of stopping 40 attackers instead of just one or two or a few. And so I had to, so I had to carry three firearms in the car now because of they were shutting down freeways and pulling people out of cars and killing them. Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing that gets me. People talk about these car attacks on protesters, but when I actually look at the videos and so forth, it looks like they're about to try to beat the shit out of the car, maybe pull the guy out. So yeah, he makes a run for it, so people get ran over. Don't surround the car. Don't start beating on it. You'll have less of a chance of getting ran over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I had a big old truck, it would be a different thing. It'd be guns blazing and
Yeah, but you'd
bodies
get
getting
maybe
crushed.
20 feet before there'd just be too many bodies unless you had four-wheel drive.
So, but yeah, if you had monster mutters, like
I mean,
my
you run over one person, 150 are going to start swarming your car, and eventually they will flip it over.
well, some of those big old truck drivers, they ground a few people
Well, yeah, they can grind a few people, but then how far did they get?
well, they got a few miles, so the cops
There you,
rescued them.
that's when you come at it at a high rate of speed. If you go from a dead stop and you start running people over and taking off, if there's a lot of people there, a lot of protesters, they're going to get run over. They're going to start going ape nuts. You might not get very far, especially those jacked up trucks are pretty easy. You get a good 50 people pushing on one side, it'll flip over.
Yeah. Well, all right.
You got to be going at a pretty good clip in order to get away.
So
And,
whenever for the Houston area, in past protests have shut down freeways, and there have been. Um, you figure that you would have to defend yourself against 40 attackers. So that's it's a sad thing,
One
but
versus 40 is shit odds. That's when you're gonna want a claymore or a hand grenade or something,
well, it's good gun control. And the thing is it's defend yourself against 40 attackers. So
Isn't that just when you put the car in reverse and back down off the freeway? You turn around and go on the median the other direction.
well, they're going to be beating your window with skateboards and stuff like that. But
Well,
if
that's if
you're
you're on the front lines. Yeah, then you're fucked.
yeah, if you're but
You're
if
fucking
you're
fucked.
hitting them with projectiles from a distance, they're gonna get out of your way.
Hmm.
And so our high tech rock throwers will
Well,
have to deal
the other
with
thing
that.
is, I don't think a lot of people consider the less than lethal option. Okay, and I mean this in the nicest sense, but I mean everyone talks about well, if they ever surrounded me, I'll just run through them, or I'll take out my AR-15 or whatever. But perfectly legally over the counter, you could buy a sonic blaster that would just destroy everyone around you without having to lay a hand on them. And
Well,
they've
I
got 50,000-watt stereo systems that play rap music. You put a good sine wave through that thing, and the people out there will stop swinging their skateboards pretty goddamn quick.
yeah, I mean I have no problem with the what do they call those? I mean, you used to be able to buy plans to build them. That would do basically deafening sonic blasts.
Exactly.
Okay, I mean
You're
you
not going to get charged with manslaughter for that.
I mean you can't use chemicals because in Houston, if they're in your car, they'll blow up. If it gets above 110 degrees inside the car. So I mean you can't keep stuff like that in there. Um, So yeah, I mean, what I forget what they call those stupid things because I used to. Oh yeah, I'm going to build. I mean, I've built speakers and stuff like that. And yeah, stuff that would pop people's eardrums. But yeah, that's I'd like to say less than least. I'd like it to a nice little microwave zapper or something like that. Uh,
Well, no, that's cooking people from the inside out.
well, no,
That to me is not less
no.
than
They
lethal.
got the ones they got the ones that just you know turn
You're
the
gonna piss somebody off. Some big motherfucker on PCP is gonna kick your ass.
well, that's
Yeah,
true. I
how
mean,
many of those are there out there though? They're mostly
A lot.
Starbucks sipping hipsters
you
with
you
skateboards.
got to understand there in a major urban environment. Yeah, there are quite a few, and yeah, yes, if you hit them with a what do you call the skin zappers or whatever that just to heat up the surface of the skin to you know boiling point or something like that. The less than lethal military option. I mean, me personally, I think the Israelis use the stink bombs, and I would love to use that. Just to start lobbing stink bombs at them.
Yeah.
I mean, they just can't get rid of the stink. They're just barfing everywhere.
That's kind of awesome.
I
Like
mean,
epicac bombs.
I would go for that before I would go through plowing through people. But
Yeah,
But
that's the whole point of like CS gas and canisters like that. Is that shit will just if you're in that, it'll make you puke.
yeah, the
oh
problem
god,
is
yeah.
you can't keep them in the car in the daytime because you get 140-degree heat inside your car. I mean, remember, most of these guys are burning down your downtown, in the middle of the summer. And so, I mean, that carrying that stuff around is just
Just take like a $3 foam cooler from the fucking gas station and use that.
no, your whole car heats up. This is Texas.
Yeah, if you park your car in one place for a while, you can bake cookies on the
Yeah,
dashboard.
it'll get to 200 degrees inside your car or more.
Even in your
Well, that's what I'm saying. Use one of those little foam coolers you get from the
That
gas
won't
station.
give
Unless you
you
want
enough
to actually keep it
protection.
on ice, I don't think that's going to work very well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it won't,
Right.
especially those
And then
little
you
foam coolers.
take
I
an
mean,
ice pack and throw it in
I
there.
used to have stuff you put in the window. It'd be a solar powered fan. It would circulate the air, and it still was hot in the car. It's still
You
Yeah.
remember that story from a few years ago? There was that woman who thought she got shot in the head, and it turned out to be a container of
Biscuit dough,
instant
yeah,
made biscuit dough.
it basically popped and hit her in the back of the head. Yeah,
Yeah,
Before her brains start leaking out or something.
yeah.
yeah, but the way she was talking about it, I don't think she had much in that department to begin with.
That's an old wives' tale.
yeah.
What, that they explode under heat?
No, the whole story.
Yeah.
That's been around for decades.
I thought I saw that they interviewed her at one point. I remember vaguely an interview with her, and she was talking about it.
Because I remember MythBusters went over that like back in like the early 2000s. So
Oh yeah,
at least.
MythBusters is just the de rigueur of reality.
Well,
I appreciate it, but I mean I've had enough experience with instant biscuit dough to know that the damn things will go kaplowy on you if you
Oh
look
yeah,
at
I
them the
know.
wrong way.
Our old dog hated them. That's why we would hold one basically to threaten her of get the fuck out of here, and she understood that message very clearly.
well, I mean, if you don't refrigerate those things and they ferment, they could
Yeah.
So
build
what
up.
was MythBusters finding? Did it explode on MythBusters or not?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I haven't seen the episode in many years, but I'm the only one I know. I'm very certain it did.
Well, they rise as they cook, so I'd kind of expect that.
Yeah.
Well, but anyway, getting back to the point is that you know you carry your personal carry firearms, or you carry for the situation, and you change your tactics if if the situation changes.
Yeah, I
So
mean, if you're in the middle of an urban area and you've got these kids with skateboards and they're smashing your car and they're burning the Starbucks, reach down under the dashboard to where your stereo is, play some Nickelback, and they'll all run away.
Well, I wish that was simple. I mean, I would rather just I mean, I remember the keeping the stepkids quiet by playing Metallica very loud. That worked very well. They stopped chattering and fighting. But I don't know about these nuts that are wanting to shut down freeways and beat up on people. So
So it's time to get a big old truck, put a cattle catcher on it. Get all Mad Max on them.
yeah, I'm more of a Rav 4 Prime type of guy. That'll be my next vehicle. Not some. My neighbor had a full size Dodge Hemi with big mutters on it, and he was also he was worked for Harris County Sheriff's Department, so he just moved. Nice guy. Um, and he knew what was going on. So the thing is that's I mentioned the living trust for firearms and stuff like that, just in case you run you have people that are trying to cancel you and make false accusations, and so you have that living trust, and you have somebody that can have your back in case they try to pull one of
Well,
those red
people do
flag
that.
laws on you.
You're fucked anyway once they do that. I
Well,
mean,
no,
yeah, even with your living trust and all your backups and your lawyers, it's still the end of your life. You're never going to get a job. You're never going to get a job again. You're never going to be able to go out in public again.
Sure you will. Sure, you can fight that stuff, and that's the
After
whole
cancel
point.
culture, have you noticed lately who's been successfully fighting it? Because I haven't seen anybody.
I mean, I don't think it's as bad as you say it is for everyone. It's just plenty of people who get the occasional heckler.
Okay,
If you're talking
again,
about people who are the intense focus of every
show
single
me
media
someone.
outlet out there, that's
Show me
different.
someone who successfully beat it.
Gina Carano.
All right, who the hell
Not
is that?
completely though, because quite frankly, as much as I like Ben Shapiro and all, working for him in some movie he's producing is not exactly the same as being part of the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Gina Carano played in The Mandalorian.
in the Mandalorian, yeah. But
Yeah,
the thing is, she
got
lost her
canceled.
job. She got kicked out. She got kicked down.
She got it back because fans fucking revolted like fuck. They did.
They're actually in negotiations to rehire her.
Yeah, because they realized how badly they fucked up with that one.
I mean, people were
That would
mad.
be the first successful defense against that shit that I've heard of.
I'm sure it's not the first, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind.
I said that I have heard of.
It's recent. That's why I know about it. That's why I know top of my head because it's recent. It happened last couple months.
I mean, I have, and you know damn well I've been through my own shit with this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just I very rarely hear people beating it.
Well, I kind of live in a secluded situation, so the people that I hang with are not nut jobs, and so I'm not really worried. I mean, I wouldn't go work for some crazy nut woke company, and I don't need
Yeah.
to.
Well, some people don't have a choice. They got to work for those kind of companies.
I understand, and it's a poison to society, but there's a lot of pushback going on now.
Look, there are people who, okay, for whatever reason, not going to get into the whole hows and whys. Okay, but they're flipping burgers down at McDonald's, and the guy going through the drive-through doesn't get enough fries, and he decides to go ape shit and crawl out the window and start doing stupid shit. These people are putting up with that crap every day. I mean, when you say it's a poison to society, absolutely. But you're just out there trying to make enough money to keep the rent house you got going, and some guy is going to go absolutely ape nuts on you because you fucked up his order and climb across over the counter and start trashing things.
Well, that's when you call the cops and file charges.
Oh yeah, and then 45 minutes later, then what?
Well, and that's what you do. I mean, you can't.
Yeah,
do
what do you do for 45 minutes while you're waiting for the cops to show up?
You
Well,
beat the shit out of him. That's what you do.
Yeah, exactly. But not everyone says that. That's always the first response, and that's great if you can. But there are a lot of people who can't just turn around and turn into Schwarzenegger and start beating the shit out of people. Remember the guy in Colorado? There was a guy in Colorado. He saw some pro-Nazi stickers on a wall next to a thrift store, and he peeled them off. And the guy who put them up there, apparently, the guy who worked for the thrift store, came outside and started giving him the business about peeling the stickers off. And he was like, "Oh yeah, well, see a Nazi, punch a Nazi," and he punched him. And the guy pulled out a hunting knife and gutted him on the spot. And the only reason he lived is because he went into the thrift store literally with his hands full of his guts and said help, and nobody did shit, and there happened to be an off-duty nurse in there. And she was able to keep him put together until the ambulance came and got him. But it's like, all these people that say, beat the shit out of him, punch a Nazi, and all that, they don't realize that, 2/3 of the population can't do that.
Well,
they can't walk from their car to the McDonald's without getting winded.
You don't go and punch people, even if they are Nazis, unless they're doing.
If you don't agree to see a Nazi punch a Nazi, you will get ostracized left, right, up, down, and backwards.
Well, look, I don't. People have a right to be stupid. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm just saying, not everybody can fight back. Just to say beat the shit out of him doesn't really cover it, because, for all intents and purposes, let's be honest, I can't beat the shit out of somebody right now anymore.
Well, I understand.
I'm sitting here in a goddamn wheelchair. I'm lucky if I can reach down and scratch my balls on a good day. Okay. And you're saying beat the shit out of somebody?
You just keep a can of wasp spray handy.
Yeah, a lot of bartender friends of mine do that, and they lose their jobs instantly. But yeah, I know the wasp spray. I actually keep a 2-foot piece of 1/2-inch OD PVC pipe with me, and you'd be surprised the damage I can do with that. Plus, I have a concealed carry license.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm saying is there are people like us, okay, but there are a lot of people that are not like us. There are a lot of people who can't or won't or don't know how to fight. The Steve Urkels of this world. Okay?
Well, all I can say is don't start the fights, okay?
You don't have to start the fight. They will bring the fight to you.
Yeah.
You didn't give me enough fries, you goddamn immigrant motherfucker.
Steve Urkel's advertising his own cannabis brand lately.
Steve Urkel just launched his own cannabis brand because he saw no one was using the color purple, and he was like, "Oh fuck!"
But have you seen his picture? He looks like a normal person.
I know.
It's so weird.
It's amazing what getting out of puberty will do for a guy. Come on. That show was centuries ago.
I'm aware, but oh my god!
What show are we talking about?
What was that called? Family Ties? No, that was the hipster.
Family Matters.
Family Matters.
What actor are we talking about?
Steve Urkel. Steve.
The guy who played the cop in the first Die Hard movie.
Okay.
He had a TV show. It was on ABC. Big morality.
Jaleel White.
You're talking about two different people. He's talking about the guy who played the dad, and you're talking about Urkel.
Yeah, I'm talking about Urkel, and I'm saying the people.
I'm talking about Urkel.
I'm stereotyping, okay? Yes.
Wait, who are we talking about? You're talking about both the dad and I'm talking about who are we talking about?
I was just trying to remember the show, and I was talking about the dad and the plot and all the useless shit.
He's only 44 years old.
What's up,
what I'm saying is that you can't just say, well, someone gives you shit, beat the hell out of them, because not everybody can do that.
Well,
not everybody can do that.
I'm a believer in de-escalating, okay? Because if someone is going nuclear, you don't argue with them, okay? You stand your ground if you got to.
Yeah.
And, that's it. You don't.
That's what you're talking about. There is common sense.
Yeah.
And common sense is not all that common.
If I'm threatened, I'm very silent. Okay, I don't say anything. All right. So that's the whole point. I don't. I don't say anything. If I have to defend myself, it'll be silent.
Well, I'm going general versus specific here. Okay. Yes, we all have the ability. We have the wasp spray and the Superman powder and the can of spinach hidden in our pocket. Okay, yeah. But in general, okay, out of the populace, your average person is not going to be able to kick the hell out of somebody who's giving them a hard time. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, they
I
need to
mean,
learn.
here in Vegas, they had a guy who wasn't getting off the bus fast enough, and the person got behind him and shit kicked him. And the guy was 87 years old, had a concussion, and was paralyzed afterwards because he was taking too long to get off the bus.
Well, that is because you have evil people in the world.
Exactly. And we have evil people in the world. We have people who can't defend themselves. So maybe we should not worry so much about, eating a can of spinach and going da 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 da, and maybe start fixing some of the evil in the goddamn world.
Yeah, and
Well,
guess what? You do that by making the evil realize it's not worth it, because if they try shit, they may get their head punched in.
Exactly. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to have their head punched in, but that guy who threw the 75-year-old guy onto the floor and got him all fucked up. He's going to be making big rocks into small rocks for the next 50 years.
right. Well, so it costs everybody.
Because Nevada just got rid of the death penalty as of, I think, yesterday. So
And that's a damn shame.
Well, death penalty should be is if that individual is worth paying for room and board for the next 50 years. Okay, I mean the thing is when you sentence somebody to death, it's not for the benefit of those that are condemned. It's for the benefit of the living.
yeah, his other would have been the other would have been victims or might be victims.
That's right. And so
This is, I mean, don't get me wrong. This is why I got my CCW. I got my CCW because I knew goddamn well 10 years ago that I was going to be a cripple at some point. And I'm going to be a cripple with a gun. Rather than just a cripple who sits there and wets his pants and says, please don't hurt me, Mr. Bad Guy.
and that's good. And
But, I
and
have the ability to do that. I have, and God save me for saying this, but, I have the privilege to do that because I have a clean record and I have a military background and I know how to dot the I's and cross the T's. And, I was able to get a permit. And, there you go.
And and of course, you also learn the responsibility of having a firearm
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
the ability to use lethal force. And it's very it does change you when you actually have that ability and you've received the training. I took the long course for this stuff. Because I got mine, quite a long time ago.
I got mine in Fort Jackson, so.
Yeah. So and that's and that's the thing is, I mean, society has. I mean, society has gotten messed up. I believe that gun safety should be a school curriculum.
Absolutely, it used to be.
I
It
mean,
used to be, and they got rid of it.
I go to church with people who grew up in Eastern Europe, and they learned how to shoot machine guns in middle school.
The thing is, we used to teach a lot, we used to, and we need to again teach a lot more competent, realistic shit in our high schools.
Like civics.
Going from civics to social studies it was one big mistake. The other thing is, we don't teach people what they need to fucking know. What is compound interest? What is a checking account? How do you maintain, what are taxes? How do you handle that? They don't teach any of that shit.
The problem is they folded that type of education into what's called home economics. Okay.
Oh no,
And
home economics.
Guess who took home economics?
Home economics is where you send the football players that need an easy A so they can stay on the team.
Well,
I will tell you that from personal experience.
I actually took home economics because of scheduling issues and stuff like that. And
I took a class called singles cooking when I was in high school.
But home economics did teach you some of the personal finances and stuff like that. Social studies, and I remember this. They basically canceled a civics class and and replace it with social studies. And social studies is all about other cultures and the UN and supporting UNICEF and globalism and all sorts of garbage. And they put that crap in the late '60s in,
You want, out of all the things I took in social studies, there's only one thing I remember. Back when I was in 8th grade in grade school, was when they made the shift from civics to social studies. And what they did was they had a class. It was called Social Studies 7, Social Studies 8, and for different grade levels. And I came from one of those backwater communities where they buy books once every century. So when you get issued a book, the first thing you had to do is sit down and have your parents put a plain brown paper bag around it.
Yep.
And they said you will write Social Studies 8 on your paper bag around your book. And some kids couldn't, honestly, and God bless them, but they couldn't spell social studies. So they wrote SS7 or SS8 on their books. The principal who was teaching social studies had a complete, literally screaming, throwing things meltdown. And he destroyed the books and he pulled the wrappers off. And he went on to this 2-day lecture about Nazism and how we could not put SS on anything.
There are 2 letters. The guy is an
I
idiot.
know. The guy was a nutter. I no doubt. But he was like, "How dare you put the symbol of Nazism on your social studies book?"
Well,
That
I'm
was like
proud.
some kind of.
I'm proud to say that I had an assistant principal take my entire book bag with all my books and homework and put it in the incinerator. And he used a very long mop handle. And the reason he did that is because it was after Thanksgiving holiday, and I brought back a coffee can of 50 scorpions in 7th grade, and they got loose because the lid came off because it was in like a Folgers can, and so yeah, that was a fun time. Yeah, I let scorpions loose in my English class. That was my poor
in in
teacher.
in high school, I got completely fed up with the jock community. Getting my head slammed into lockers and you're the faggot in the chess club, huh? And slamming around and all that bullshit. And so I became the AV geek. And the AV geek allowed me to get away with certain things, such as the big football game, the big game, big game. Everybody's there, all the parents are there, all the recruiters are there. And, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem. And the guy hit play, and I swapped out the tape, and it played AC/DC's You Shook Me All Night Long. You should have heard the people go ape nuts when that first started. The first few notes, everyone knew what the song was.
Well, there you go.
They couldn't prove it. They could not prove that I did it, but they goddamn sure as well did know that I did it.
Well, they knew that I was bringing in fun stuff, for show and tell. Hey, look at all these scorpions I caught.
I once hooked the principal's phone to the PA system. That was
Well,
amusing for about 10 minutes.
we didn't have cell phones back then.
This is not a cell phone. This was a physical phone where I used electrical jumpers
Oh, okay,
to
yeah.
go from the 44 block over to the amplifier.
There you go. Well, I did not get caught herding the skunks in the school, but I did learn how to herd skunks.
Damn.
Yeah.
You get a job at Facebook.
Well, thing about herding a skunk is you got to fool a skunk into thinking you're not a threat. And the way you do that is you get a nice big bushy oak leaf branch or a branch, and you put that branch in front of you and the skunk, and you will swish it on the ground. And the skunk is looking at the branch, and not at you. You're behind the branch, and that way you can just kind of walk around and herd that skunk to where you want it to go, or skunks, because there were 3, and one decided to go elsewhere, and 2 made it into school. And it helped that I was a band nerd and got dropped off early and did stuff like that, and so it was a nice early spring morning, and there was a nice big field next to the school, and skunks were just kind of picking up grasshoppers and grubs or whatever they do. And yeah, my band instructor said that whoever let the skunks in the school should be shot. But I was the number one suspect,
Gotta
and
love it.
I didn't get caught though. No principals came up to me, and I had people glare at me, kind of, and I was like, okay, I don't care because that's who I was. I was pretty. I mean, it was because I thought it was really cool to mess with nature back then. Bugs, snakes, whatever. Just bring them on. Hey, check out this snake. Look, I got a jar full of black widows. That sort of thing. I was that kid. Yeah. I had to make school less boring. I mean, I was already reading at a college level, and I learned my first Latin word for an insect in like the fourth grade. I mean, I was doing stuff like that way back, because I found that more interesting than what they were teaching. So,
And guys, I think I'm going to get on off of here. And unfortunately, I can't mute myself and just walk away because that part of my keyboard is dead.
oh, you
Well,
still
have a good night,
have your
Adrian.
MacBook.
Yeah. Guys, have a good night and catch y'all next week.
All right, well,
Good night.
watch the show notes, the videos, and stuff like that, all the life hacks, because those are beneficial.
Cool beans. Bye, all.